Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran. Uh, The Advanced Audit and Assurance exam is on Monday, which is the 5th of December 2022, and it's just psychologically 4 days away. This is a crucial time. Today is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, how would you go about utilizing these 4 days is a very big question. And at this point in time, the student starts messaging you what I should do in these final days. Now, though it's a very difficult question and a question where you cannot give one answer because every student would be in a different position uh, uh, in terms of how to utilize the remaining 4 days. It all depends upon your preparation by this point in time. Now, it's extremely important that in these last 4 days, you should plan some very important things. And I would like to share that with you in terms of my final tick marks. Now, these final tick marks are very important because you need to self-assess yourself that out of these final tick marks, how many have you covered? And you're fully assured that you are aware of these developments or changes for your upcoming exams in December. Now, first of all, when you're preparing for December exams, you must be aware of the changes and the developments which has taken place since September 22 exams, primarily with the introduction of 20 professional skill marks. Now, the September 22 examiner report is available and is published on the ACC website. So I would encourage students that in the last 4 days, you should download that particular examiner report. And examiner has given a commentary on the 20 professional marks that how it was performed in the first exam sitting in terms of stronger students and weaker students. So I would just like you all to sit down with that examiner report and spend some hours on it. Try to understand your examiner expectation around the 20 professional marks and what advice the examining team is giving you in terms of gaining the 20 professional marks in a better way in the upcoming exam setting. So that is the very first thing you should all be doing immediately, number one. Number two is that since the September 22 exams, there are a couple of new articles and new developments which have taken place. First of all, I have covered this for my regular students who are my registered students, and I've even covered it for my other students who follow me on my YouTube channel. In the syllabus area F, which is other assignments, examining team has published two articles, which was published around August 2022. And those two articles was on assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, part one and part two. And that is critical because I foresee examining team giving you a question on an other assignment around assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. And particularly the part two of that article plays a crucial impact on the upcoming exam. We know the part one of that article is more like the other information, is more like the reporting implication, the ISA 720, and what is the auditor responsibility for other information in the document containing the financial statement. So that is more where the students can do something better. But again, both the part of the articles one and two are extremely important, but primarily the part two is what I foresee impacting the upcoming exams as well. So I believe you should be going over that if you have not yet concentrated or given time to it in these last 4 days. And already it is available on my YouTube channel as well for students who are not registered with me. And those who are registered with me, they have got this as part of the regular course as well. The third thing is the quality management. We know that this started from August 22, 1 month before the September 22 exams. Quality management standards, ISQM, no more ISQC. So if you have studied the old ISQC and you're aware of ISQC and you're going to the December exams with ISQC, that could be disastrous, because we know there is ISQM1 and ISQM2, which is now replacing ISQC1, and the ISA 220 is also revised. And the examining team has covered that under the two new articles under the syllabus area C, quality management now. And the two articles have been published on quality management, part 1 and part 2. The part 1 is publicly available on my YouTube channel, but the part 2 is exclusively available for my registered students, and they can access both the part 1 and part 2 with my resources. But you should have an idea of part 1 and part 2. You should download the article, read through it if you're not my registered student. If you are my registered student, you will be having a fair idea of it, because the future exams from December 22 will have a definite impact of quality management, and a question, typical question asking you evaluate the ethical, professional, and quality management issues, or discussing the quality management issues around how the audit is planned and performed is a question which will make impact on the December 22 exams as well. So be prepared for it. So if you look at the number of new articles which have come in since August 22 are 4. 2 articles on syllabus area F, which is assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, part 1 and 2, and 2 articles in syllabus area C, which is the update on quality management, the international standards on quality management, part 1, part 2, and then the second part is the ISA 220 revised. So it's extremely important. So that is the tick mark number 3 so far. The fourth thing to move forward is to know the marking scheme. Now, there has been some fundamental refinement in the marking scheme. I would not say a change in marking scheme, rather the marking scheme has become more easier. Everything in the AAA paper is now worth 1 mark, with the exception of the following areas. Number 1, if a question comes on a going concern matter, if you've seen the past papers, examiner do ask you a question, evaluate the going concern matter. A question I think came in the December 18 paper as well, where you need to evaluate the going concern matters facing the company. A going concern matter is still worth 2 marks, because there is no new question available on GC matters since the marking scheme of 2 marks are used. So I would still prefer that if a question comes on a GC matter, you're still using a 2 marks marking scheme. Another area where a 2 mark marking scheme is available is business risk, where you get 2 marks per business risk. 3 marks, risk of material misstatement and audit risk. Any audit risk or any risk of material misstatement where you have to do the commenting on the accounting treatment, or any audit risk or any risk of material misstatement which is around an accounting treatment, fetch 3 marks. But if you talk about the other audit risk or other risk of material misstatement, like first year audit, or like a risk of management bias, or like internal controls, where you don't have the accounting treatments to talk about, those will still be 2 marks. So you do have the marking scheme of 2 and 3 in the risk area. Going concern matters are 2. And apart from that, everything is worth 1 mark now in the AAA paper. One more thing is that there is a fifth thing which I would link with the marking scheme, is the question number 1. And if you've seen the question number 1 since September 22 exams, and even the practice exams the ACC has put applicable for September 22 onwards, the question number 1, where you get the partner email. In the partner email, the partner now tells the manager that I want the materiality to be based upon, for example, the profit. And that statement is something which is impacting the papers from September 22 onwards now. So in the December 22 exam, even when you look at the partner email and you look at the question number one, the partner would tell you in the email that on what basis the partner would like to see the materiality on. But so far, he's looking at materiality on the profit basis. But in the future exams, he might see it on the total asset or revenue. And you should know the thresholds of materiality around these vectors. Now, if the partner is telling you that I want the materiality to be based on a factor like profit or total asset or revenue, you should know how to calculate the materiality around that factor and how to decide which percentage you will go ahead with. For example, you come across profit, so it's 5 to 10% of profit. You calculate 5%, you calculate 10%, but then you have to decide, should you go with 5 or 10, or should you go something in the middle, like 6, 7, 8, 9, and why? If it comes on total assets, you say, okay, 1% is this much and 2% is this much. Now you have to take a decision. Should I go with 1% or 2% or 1.5%? If it comes on revenue, then it's pretty simple. It's 0.5% or 1%. And you decide and you calculate both. And then you choose, should I go with half or one? But so far it's been on profit. But how you calculate the range in terms of the statement coming from the partner in the question number one, how you put that statement, and how you decide the level. I've covered this for my regular students who are registered with me, and even covered this in my exclusive December 22 webinar, which is a paid webinar, not more publicly available. But even students who have no access to my December 22 webinar or have not paid for it, you can still find this in my September 22 webinar, where I covered this on the day one and day two about the materiality change and how to go about writing it down and so on and so forth, because that's the fifth area you should be very much aware of. And there are 3 technical marks now for the materiality statement in the question number one. So when you judge the materiality in the question number one, and you find the range of materiality, for example, on profit 5 to 10%, and then you decide, okay, this is 5, this is 10, but I am choosing 7, and why? This is 3 marks. To calculate the 5 and 10%, or to calculate half to 1%, or to calculate 1 to 2%, as the case may be on total asset, revenue, profit, whatever the partner is telling you, that gives you straight away 2 marks if you put the right calculations. But 1 mark is for the judgment. Which range are you choosing and why? So there are 3 technical marks now for materiality in the question number one, which is for audit risk or risk of material misstatement. Technical marks, right? Not professional. So, but if in the answer later, you are commenting on materiality beyond the statement, there are significant chances you will score the professional marks. So 3 technical marks for materiality. But if you do any other effort for materiality, you can still fetch some professional marks around it. But please be sure that 3 technical marks for materiality and the new statement of the partner in the question number one around materiality and how to go about writing it is very important. So that's the 5th area. The 6th area is the significant risk. Now, we know this terminology has started to come since September 22 examiner asking you to evaluate the significant audit risk or significant risk of material misstatement, and you should know how to prioritize them. Again, I covered this in my December 22 webinar, and I did had some focus in my September 22 webinar as well, that how you go about prioritizing the significance. Because examiner is not just rewarding you technically for writing the risk. You will still get the technical marks in whichever order you write. But if you're not writing them in the order of significance, you're losing your professional marks. If you're not taking a judgment, what is significant, and if you're arranging a risk in an order, what is the justification of arranging the risk in that order? You have to give a conclusion. So after you write the significant risk, you will give a conclusion that what is your justification of significant risk, because the examining team is looking for that. So the conclusion on the significant risk and the choice of significant risk and the order of significant risk will fetch you professional marks. But if you don't follow the significance, you don't follow the conclusion, you are still fetching the technical marks, but you're losing professional marks in that case, which could be vital between passing and failing the AAA paper. So please read the examiner report for September 22, how to go down with how to go down with significant risk and prioritizing them. I covered them in my December 22 webinar. So those who bought it, attended it, must be having a clear idea of that. But those who couldn't, you still have a September 22 webinar to watch on the YouTube, or else you can just read down the examiner report for the sake of clarity on this area. But that's the sixth important area where you should be very, very clear with. Current issue, seventh. Is there any current issue for December? There is. And the current issue which we discussed for September 22 exams will carry forward to December, which I did on my YouTube channel. It is available with my registered students and even for public viewing, which is on climatical risk and the auditor responsibilities around climatical risk and the climatical changes. There's a session on that on my YouTube channel. You can search it out. But again, that seems like an emerging area and where a potential impact can come in the December exams for 6 to 8 marks, but you're not sure of that. But that's a current issue. And we developed this current issue for September 22 exams. And again, this is carried forward to the December 22 exams as well. And I did give the reason why we developed this issue as a current issue in September 22 exams. And I'm not going down into it again. So that's another area, seventh one, where you should be focusing on in terms of the current issue. Now, practice, eighth, tick marks. To practice. The September 22 latest exam, which is on the practice platform, you must do it, and you must look into the examiner answer for September 22. And you should also read the examiner report for September 22. I'm talking about the actual September 22 exam, which is available on the practice platform, the real September 22 exam, right? That's number one, with the answer and with the examiner report, because that's the latest one and you should not miss anything out of it. Number one, in that answer, you can find how the examiner write the materiality statement, how the examiner prioritizes significant risk, what sort of conclusion the examiner is giving for significant risk. So at least you can learn it out. If you are not registered for my course, if you are registered for course, that guidance has already been shared out. Mock exam, December 22 mock exam, published by ACCA, and it's available on the practice platform. So I would encourage you do the mock exam as well. So two exam papers, September 22 and the December 22 mock exam. This is all what you can do in the 4 days remaining. So please ensure you have spent time around this eighth area, which is the mock exam and the September 22 actual exam. That's critical. The ninth area is where you should be focusing on not losing the 4 communication skill marks in the question number 1. We know the communication skill marks is only available in the question 1 because you have to answer it in the format of a briefing note. And if you structure the briefing note nicely, and you follow the logical flow of the briefing note, A, B, C, D, not changing the order of the briefing note. You follow the instruction of the partner. For example, the partner is saying, you should not do this, so then you should not do that. If the partner is saying, use the exhibit 5 for the requirement D, then only use the exhibit 5 for the requirement D. So try to follow the instructions of the partner carefully when you are communicating to fetch most of your communication skill marks. Order of the briefing note, structure of the briefing note, headings in the briefing note, and please ensure that if the partner is saying significant risk, so you do arrange the risk in a significant order, because again, the clarity of communication. If the partner wants a communication with a do and don't, with a certain do's and don'ts, then do the communication with those do's and don'ts to fetch the 4 communication skill marks. Don't lose them. They're pretty easier. So 4 communication skill marks is easier to grab, and I would expect 4 out of 4 from all the students. So this is important areas which has developed recently around December 22 exams. The new articles coming in around syllabus area C, around syllabus area F. The materiality statement in the first question, how to go about it, the materiality marks in the first question, the significant risk, the conclusion of significant risk, the marking scheme coming to flat 1 with the exception of audit risk and risk of material misstatement, which is still 3 for accounting treatments, and for non-accounting treatments 2, business risk is 2, going concern matters is 2, and the rest of the marking scheme is flat at 1, making life easier for the students in the AAA paper. Professional marks, examiner reports, clarity from the examiner, how to fetch the professional marks, the mock exam, the real September 22 exam, current issue. This is all what you need in these last 4 days ahead of your exams. And then again, you need some time to relax yourself as well. So if you have your exams on Monday, I would prefer by Sunday afternoon you are done with things and not doing anything extra. Just relax your mind for like 18 to 20 hours. That is much needed to bring efficiency and creativity from your mind on the day of exam. So you want your mind to operate at 100% level on the day of exam. So I wish you all a very best of luck for your upcoming December 22 exams, and I hope these final tick marks would really be beneficial for all of you, whether you are my registered student or my unregistered student, and you do watch me publicly on the YouTube channel. A lot of content is on the YouTube channel for public viewing, but the December 22 webinar has now been made exclusive and a paid content, and that's how things will be for future as well. And the webinars will become more like a refresher and a crash course in future. So thank you so much for taking your time out and watching this short session where I was discussing the final tick marks in the last 4 days ahead of your exams, which is one of your frequently asked questions. Your tutor, Kashif Kamran, signing off and wish you the very best of luck. Take care. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.